Hunt Showdown, or from here on out, HS, because holy shit, this game is good. It is so much better than I expected for how low under the radar this game flies. For years, I had occasionally heard of this game and brushed it off, because even though I had heard of it over and over again, I never really heard about what the game was really like. Now, during that dark void of time right after the 5th Dark and Darker playtest and the complete ass-rending barrage of titles coming out in June, I had no idea what to play. People in the D&D Discord kept saying they were going back to Hunt for now, and I thought that was silly, because everyone was saying that there was no game like D&D, so saying Hunt was a good substitute felt like I was just being lied to and given false hope. But I was wrong, because in a way, Hunt Showdown was just like D&D, in that there isn't really anything like it. Hopefully, that statement piqued your interest, and has you asking, well damn dude, elaborate, what makes it so good or so unique? And to that I just say, we'll get there. First I have to explain what the game is. Hunt is a PvPvE extraction shooter. Now, I'm sure you've heard that genre name a million times at this point, Tarkov being one of the biggest ones that comes to mind. But despite sharing the genre, the games are nothing alike in terms of your goals, because there isn't really loot or vendors to do quests for. So while Tarkov wants you to collect mats, do quests, and get better gear so it's easier to beat any other player standing in the way of your hunt for gear, the goal in Hunt is to get the bounty and get out. This sounds simple at first, and it really is, but that single objective, just like every other thing in this game, is designed to draw you into these sexy, gun-slinging, bayou-blasting gunfights. So, you're probably wondering what progression is like if there's no loot. Well, the progression is your account level and your hunter levels. Each hunter can level from 1 to 50 and earns trait points as they level that allow them to buy traits or recover health bars they've lost. An account level unlocks you new guns, consumables, and traits to use. And at level 100 you can prestige, unlock something, and do it all again. Now, don't get me wrong, upgrading your hunter is a power boost, but it isn't anything game-breaking, like bonus damage or more health or basic shit like that you would get from armor or other guns in another loot-based game. What these traits do is tailor your hunter to your playstyle. If you want to be a silent hunter, grab a bow and traits that reduce noise you make in water or climbing ladders, go for it. If you want to be a sniper, grab traits that steady your aim and buy ammo that keeps better damage over distance. Now, if you want to hide for 25 minutes and wait for someone to walk by you so you can blast them with your shotgun,
stop it. Get some help.
What this basic progression does overall is give you something that does improve game to game, but that requires minimal upkeep. Even if a hunter dies, you can be queued up for the next game in less than a minute, as opposed to other games in the same genre, which can have a lot of checking vendors, inventory management, and all kinds of other bloat before you get into the next game. And now we get to the good part, the gameplay. Does it hold up in this 5-year-old game? Hell yeah. Yes, it has built up some menu bloat from being around this long, and we'll get to that, but other than that, the game doesn't seem to have overloaded itself with new mechanics and other shit. Looking at you, Warframe. To loop back to what I've said before, the game is simple, even shallow at a glance, but that's good. Understanding the game is easy, and a lot of skills transfer from other games. They just require a bit of adjustment. There are many familiar elements to the game, making it easy to pick up if you've played similar games, and the things that are different are simple enough, like learning about status conditions and the benefits of different tools/consumables. Despite that, there are also lots of ways to express skill in this game in a way that is unique to this game other than raw aim and reactions.
Surprise, motherfucker.
And due to the lack of extraneous garbage to keep track of, you can focus on just playing the game itself and stay immersed in it. This lets you really appreciate and utilize the mechanics the game has set up for you. For example, noise is huge. You can hear many, many different sounds from different distances across the map. Goddamn chickens. But I shouldn't have done that, fucking crows. And some, like crows, even fly into the air to show where you're located at the moment you disturb them. When in a group, you're constantly calling out noises you're hearing and asking your friend who is in another part of the compound, "Shh,
He's under here.
was that you?" The gunplay is good and feels clean. Most games in this sort of old-timey gun genre can feel like a slog, or that stuff is inconvenient just to fit the theme. But this game doesn't feel that way. Something as detrimental as having a rifle that only gets one bullet between reloads can be mitigated by carrying a good secondary. Or you can carry a secondary that matches the ammo types with your primary, so you have even more ammo to go wild with. Speaking of, the game does really good at making you manage ammo. because while you have plenty, it's also entirely possible to run out if you're careless. The balance there is surprisingly well done. In my mind, a match is typically broken up into 3 parts, the first of which is the find the bounty and skirmish phase, where you collect clues and find the bounty, or chase silence to kill other hunters and then head to the bounty when someone else clears it. This leads to a lot of intense gunfights in different environments. It can be in a compound where you can utilize many angles and elevations, as well as neutral mobs to your advantage. Or hectic fights in the woods where you and your teammates are constantly calling out positions like one more northwestish, or check out that bush. The next phase is the banishing phase. Once the bounty is slain, the entire map is notified and shown your location. If you're the team that slayed the bounty, it's time to hole up, use traps to defend angles you aren't watching, and try to force enemies to break into your stronghold before the banish completes. Otherwise, it gives you some wall hacks during your dark sight that you can use to break out. If you're the team coming to steal the bounty, it's time to navigate your siege. You have to avoid being pinched by other teams coming to steal it and figure out the best way to engage the other team. Do you play it fast, using utilities such as dynamite or firebombs to force them out and then get them while they're disorganized? Or play it slow, knowing they'll run out of wall hacks and that they'll have to come out to extract at some point? And the last phase is the get the fuck out of Dodge phase, where you've got your bounty and dealt with the other teams in the area. Do you rush to extraction, hoping to make a safe exit? Or do you rush to the other bounty if there is one, using your dark sight to more effectively siege it? Or are you confident the lobby is empty now, and you can take a lackadaisical stroll to the extract, picking up some mob kills for some extra experience along the way? This leads to a ton of different scenarios where your strategy and aim are put to the test. And this isn't an uncommon occurrence. This is every single game. The game is designed beautifully to always force these fights in a very natural way. There's no learning curve when it comes to having exciting matches. Now that I think about it, simple isn't the word I would use to describe the gameplay. Streamlined is a much better description. There are a few hurdles, though, to overcome when joining this game, such as the abundance of hugely important tips you'll gather over time, many of which are on the loading screen, like using blunt damage on immolators so they don't explode in flames. Other tips I've learned from the community, and I'm not sure where to find them in-game if you can find them at all, such as the fact that when a hunter dies, their feet point to where they were killed from. To help rip off this band-aid, I'll show a short list of some of the tips I've picked up over time at the end of this video. I first joined the game 5 years after it had initially released, and nothing feels out of place to me. I wouldn't be able to tell you what was added at which point in the game's lifespan, and that's amazing. Some games can feel very disjointed, and you can tell how old certain mechanics are and which ones are created with the experience the devs gained over time and the more refined vision they've created for the game. Here, it seems like they had a solid base and anything added later fit right in. And they're still adding more. In fact, the more fleshed out tutorial and shooting range modes were added around the time I joined, as well as a new boss that doesn't spawn in typical locations and new guns. With that being said, the future of the game looks blindingly bright. I'd say that this game is at the best point it's ever been just from the vibe I get around the community and from my own experience playing the game. Now, the menu is a bit of a different story, but only slightly. Upon loading up, you're met with a variety of different tabs and subtabs, many of which don't matter from game to game. The ones that do are the lobby tab and the roster tab, which let you queue up for games and equip your hunter respectively. For gameplay, I would give this game an 8 out of 10. It's really good, but far from perfect. The game does what it wants to, and it does it well. It creates constantly exciting scenarios that feel rewarding when won and are easy to learn from if you lose. I won't give this a rating since you can see for yourself, but the graphics are pretty good as well. There are some issues though, such as rendering distance. A lot of times something out of the corner of your eye seems like it could be a player, but it's really just a blurry asset wiggling around. As for mechanical and menu bloat, I would give this game a 6 out of 10. So far, no mechanics feel out of place, and everything feels really natural. Although the menu is a bit cluttered, having ads for sales even on their main lobby screen, they do keep it minimal though, so I'll give them credit for that. For ease to learn, I'd give the game a 7 out of 10. Many elements of the game are very familiar or easy to adapt to, but a lot of really important tips aren't communicated to you effectively, causing you to suffer until you learn them or possibly not learn them at all. And a big part of the learning curve I haven't mentioned is that there's no solo queue. If you want to play solo, you'll have to be up against duos or trios, which can be really, really rough. Luckily, there's at least a randoms queue to get you a teammate if you don't have one. As for depth and reward for time investment, I'd give the game an 8 out of 10. This is also due to the amount of little tips the game has that aren't required to make your game experience feel like you aren't being beat down. And mastering the gunplay and evolving/adapting your strategies feels really deeply rewarding. On top of that, this game respects your time. If you don't want to regrind levels once you unlocked 100, you don't have to. You can keep everything unlocked forever. But if you want to keep progressing and gaining prestige, you're free to do that as well. Overall, I'd give the game an 8 out of 10. It has its faults, but it's definitely worth your time. Now that we've made it through all that, here are the tips I promised you. Now get the fuck out of here and go play it.
You better poke with that.
I'm probably gonna put the needle up my penis hole.
Bruh. My GeForce experience was off. Oh my.
What?
My GeForce experience was off, so I couldn't record that.
Not your GeForce experience.
Well, no, because I wanted that for the soundboard.
What? Oh shit.